Today's presentation will be about the Innovation Hub for Aviation. And he's going to be talking about Skyworld Advanced Tech Center, or the ATC. As travel and logistics are key elements of the national infrastructure, innovation at seaports, intermodals, and airports is of paramount importance to the global economy. While some facilities value innovation, the vast majority of facilities in America do not have the time, the expertise, or the budget in place to hasten and facilitate the technology advancements of the 21st century. The expense of finding these solutions, ideating targets of value, and the cost and time of deploying these enhancements have made the United States we're behind in the global of our global counterparts. The Skyworld ATC is positioned to change that narrative. Through collaboration and guided innovation, it aims to reduce the cost of innovation by half and increase the pace of adoption by twofold. So Pete is an industrial thought leader and serial entrepreneur in mobile communications and technology. So he's often found speaking and writing about 5G, IT, and IoT technologies. Currently, he and Michael Witherman are co-founders of Skyworld ATC, whose ideation came forward with his award-winning 5G wireless strategy consulting work at DFW Airport. And so Maria's been a big part of that for, what, 10 years? How long have you been at DFW?
No, I've only been there 4 years.
4 years, okay. It seems like forever, you know, that you've been quite an impact.
And she'll attest that actually won awards.
Yeah, awesome. Pete is the CEO of MLabs Industries. With that, let's welcome Pete.
It's not going to be a real long presentation. It's not going to be a short presentation. It'll be a medium presentation. And I hope there are a lot of interactions. From a style perspective, please, by all means, in the middle of the presentation, ask questions. It doesn't throw me off. I think that's always good to be collaborative. Okay. So Skyworld, innovation for ports and airports, right? How we ideated this concept. Okay. Initially, we consulted DFW International Airport on 5G, and the effort won awards for the airport. Okay. We talked about deploying private LTE and 5G, and and by the way, the lead for that project is sitting here in the room with Maria Breckenridge, and she deployed proofs of concept using private LTE and the CBRS Alliance, and CBRS was the technology that was used, awarded DFW Airport Use Case of the Year in the POCs that were deployed. So it was it was well produced, well run, very good outcomes, did exactly what we thought it was going to do. So then we developed a comprehensive innovation plan to deliver, minimum viable products, proofs of concepts, trials, bespoke product development, software, hardware development, and guided innovation services in a self-contained offsite environment. The Richardson IQ partnering with University of Texas at Dallas and Paragon Innovation. Okay, we actually submitted a very in-depth proposal to the airport, and the airport decided to shelve all the proposals. So, but in doing that innovation work and putting together the program, and in working with the airport for 2 years on private 5G and LTE, and candidly speaking, we all make the mistake. We all are in love with the concept of private 5G. It's like when I was the GM of the United States for Samsung, and I would always tell people, it's not what the phone does, it's what the phone does for you. It's not what 5G does, it's the use cases and the infrastructure that it actually enables. So we said to ourselves, let's go forward and take this good work and actually turn it into something that we can actually replicate for the good of all travel. And what we decided to look at is service, software, and hardware, okay, on a large scale, on a small scale, from a development and business case perspective, going forward and addressing TCO models, right? Total cost of ownership. We also are addressing ROI, and we're also addressing compliance. Because as we all know, the only 3 reasons that anybody buys something is if it makes them money, if it saves them money, or it keeps them out of fines and jail. Okay, compliance, TCO, and ROI. And this is how we ideated Skyworld. Okay, and during this validation process, we discovered that the vast majority of the 558 airports and the 360 seaports in the United States do not have internal and formal innovation departments like DFW International Airport. They have a very good functional, innovation program. Okay, they do great work. Okay, the vast majority of the airports don't have that same type of discipline and thought process. They're all thinking towards it. They all want to be innovative, but candidly speaking, a big airport gets calls all the time from a small airport and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" Maria, how many calls do you get? Unfortunately, you're going to be a foil today.
No.
How many calls do you get from small airports saying, "What are you doing?"
At least 2 or 3 a week. Yeah.
Okay. They don't have a place to go independently to validate things. Introducing Skyworld. So, by the way, we're happy to be using DFW pictures here. Sorry. They're public domain though, so we're okay. Okay. So with regard to that, we decided to put together a technology center based on purpose-driven innovation, right? We are a multidiscipline innovation and solutions technology center. What we're going to be doing is design, test, ideation, proofs of concepts, deployment, and system integrations. You have a question in the back?
No.
Or you're just following? Got it. Okay. By the way, if you have questions at any time, please let me know. We'll happy to send you the slides. I already sent out a PDF. Okay. Okay. We are focusing on value co-creation, right? So we want practical, real world benefits, right? We're not in the business of science projects. Okay. We are not doing the cool toy lab. What we want to do is talk to airports, talk to the industry ecosystem, see what problems that they have, peruse the entire environment, go forward, ideate solutions, bring them into the lab, and test the solutions. Okay, put together statements of work, test the solutions, publish to the membership of Skyworld the results. Okay, so our program drivers and value: event-driven, market-driven, technology-driven. So technology in and of itself is great, but doesn't mean anything. Okay, events in and of themselves are fascinating and need to be acted upon, but unless you have solutions that are driven by the technology and the market, you don't coalesce into a full deliverable project. Okay, so we are creating a value platform, co-creation platform, a digital technology incubator, and a business-led growth center. So our goals are to go forward and address many verticals that have not had innovation budget nor technical capacity to integrate, test, and validate, right? If I go back to the previous slide, I do want to say, from a point of focus, we're not going to boil the ocean. We'll look at lots of things, but we are looking primarily at communications, operations, customer experience, and public safety. Okay, I mean, these are things that are front of mind to every airport. At least I know these are things front of mind at DFW. These are front of mind at your airport, right? Okay.
So Pete, on your thought process on public safety, are you thinking not just the interface with the public, but what happens behind the scenes in terms of security and safety as well?
Yes, we're talking about public safety, cargo safety, perimeter security. We're talking about, the property line, the infrastructure, the airspace, the immediate proximity around the airport, the security of transported goods and services within the airport, everything. Okay, everything is in the purview there. Because everything is security. Okay. So you saw this slide again before, right? So, we are going to do other verticals besides ports and airports. But ports and airports, when we looked at the marketplace, that was a fat pitch down the middle of the plate. Okay. It was like, there are places to go. And by the way, the numbers I gave you were the US numbers of ports and airports. We certainly are going to service Canada, Mexico, and other geographies, right? Anybody that wants to come on and do that, right? So we take an example, perimeter security. So perimeter security, if I looked at DFW International Airport, they have 22.4 miles of fence line. Okay. They are physically the size of Manhattan. They have their own zip code. So they're not insignificant. Okay. So perimeter security is a problem. So if I looked at the perimeter security use case, I have to look at the service, I have to look at the software, and I have to look at, the hardware capabilities. I look at the large scale part of it, the fence line, the small scale part of it, individual packages, the development scale, what problems are we looking to solve? The business life cycle use case, because you can't just do it for the sake of doing it. You have to have it returned. And that's how we do that. So what we're looking to do through this process is drive the cost out of innovation and drive the speed to innovation into adoption. Okay. All right. So I don't think I ever showed you this slide, Marie. So this is an example of perimeter security, right? So we've done a lot. This is one we've done a lot. We've done a lot of thinking on a lot of the use cases. This is one of the use cases we've done thinking. Yes, Marie, I will give you these slides when we leave. Okay. Program scope. Demonstration of advanced remote security capabilities to prove the efficiency of airfield security monitoring and the response to metrics, including call-outs, personal traveler safety, threat identification, intelligent mitigation actions. Lots of hardware, lots of applications, lots of network. All of these are required to do the security, both big and small. Okay. We look at the case analysis, we bring it into the lab, we perform the individual functions. We have to do a field test because we have an advanced technology center. Okay. And in the advanced technology center, and doing it in a lab, working with this Richardson IQ, working with the University of Texas, Dallas. By the way, Rod, I don't know if you know this, but you all have agreed to, all three of your colleges have agreed to participate in this. So ATEC, Johnson, and Gentle. Okay, so awesome. You're a good partner. Thank you, Rod. So anyway, so with regard to that, we look at the entire venue holistically. We bring it into the use case we're trying to solve. We have our own innovation leaders going to be in the lab running the innovation projects because most airports, as we said before, don't have staff like DFW, and DFW staff is probably overwhelmed with the amount of things that they're trying to do anyway, and all airports are, right? So we can augment, and then at that point, we do have to bring it to the field and either work with the direct airport or work with the an airport that we're going to participate with. I've actually had 2 conversations, no agreements, with DFW Airport about and I've lost track of where you are in building your innovation lab. I know it's not
On hold.
It's on hold.
Oh,
Ooh, last time I talked to Paul, he was very promising. Okay. So with regard to that, even more reason to have an innovation lab. Okay. We've talked to a lot of partners. And every partner we talk to says, wow, this is a skippy good idea. Okay. So including Ericsson and Intel, and we've talked to the airport several times about this QCT and Mavenir and Rakuten and DZS, and you can read it, on and on. The TM forum, Intel. So everybody's excited about that. You probably should put an IEEE logo on there. I would imagine that IEEE would be very excited about doing this too. Okay, so and the solutions are really very important. The passenger experience. We're looking at new technologies like VR, right? Although, truth be told, I hate the term metaverse. Just hate it, right? So I agree with the concepts. I don't agree with the marketeering. Okay, the analytics and advanced capabilities like tethered drones, right? And by the way, not for nothing, everything that we're doing from an innovation perspective really is focused and centered around data. I mean, data is paramount and key. Okay. Next slide. Obviously, the people who are working on this have worked at a lot of places. Of course, there's a lot of logos up there because some of us, like me, are old, okay, and have been a lot of places. But we have a lot of experience at a lot of high-powered places. And if you're wondering, the GTE logo is mine. I worked at GTE back in the day. And of course, from a partnership perspective, I would be remiss without sharing, where we're going to start off the lab. We're a little behind because, of course, when we wanted to move into the building,
Fire.
Yeah.
IQHQ, the fire.
Yeah, the fire. City Hall had a fire in Richardson, and they moved their staff in. So it's one of the reasons why we're behind. But that's actually where we intend to talk and work. As a matter of fact, I had dinner with Paul last week, and we're on target. They're very, city's very excited working with us. City manager Don Manger as well. So so Rod, since you're here, you were on my list to talk to, since Don Nichols and Pete Foreman are no longer in their roles. So now I need to I have to probably catch you up to speed. Okay, but and the university partner as well. Okay, so one of the things that's also very cool. How many here are familiar with the OnGo Alliance?
We've had a presentation from them here.
So the OnGo Alliance is the CBRS Alliance. How many people here are familiar with CBRS? Okay, so CBRS is bandwidth that was formerly the Citizens Band Radio, Spectrum 10-4, good buddy. But it was reallocated to be the Citizens Broadband, radio network. So anyway, service. And so with regard to that, it is the 3.55 to 3.70 gigahertz spectrum that is allocated for private radio. And the OnGo Alliance is actually the alliance to manage the private LTE, private 5G capabilities within that spectrum. So we've actually had several conversations with the OnGo Alliance, including Alan Ewing and team, and they actually have agreed to work with us, although we don't have the documents in writing yet, to make this an official CBRS test center. Okay, so several major radio manufacturers will be actually putting in ORAN and virtual cores that we could actually test CBRS radios in the lab. Okay, and we've had a couple conversations with the city about actually putting smart poles on the street where we can actually change out the ORAN, so we can actually do a little bit better than doing it in RAD, and we can actually do it amongst buildings and down the street as you drive, in motion, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Staffing model. We're going to have a dedicated permanent staff. Operations, engineers, designers, management, and a coordinator to coordinate with the University of Texas at Dallas. Because of course, we will be using undergraduate and graduate interns. And we'd also negotiated a faculty rate card for the faculty, which will be delivered through UTD because you guys actually have to write the faculty's checks, not us. But that's fine. But we've actually negotiated that. Rod, again, we probably need to have that conversation. So, and with regard to that, we also have, we're going to have a rotating program for consultants, certification managers, and vendor engineers. Since we are not a system integrator, we will work with your consultants. Your consultants can come into the lab and work on their projects, okay? And they can go forward and utilize that and work with our staff to run it, right? Or your vendors can come into our lab and work on your projects. Our goal is not to, be a closed loop. Our goal is to be an open loop. We're going, we are embracing everyone. We'll also allow the government to come in too, okay, and work on government projects. And that means, of course, local, county, state, federal, and semi-political bodies. Questions, comments? Yes, Shwan.
What is your funding model? I mean, you say you have a dedicated staff. Who's paying for it?
Oh, that's a great question. We'll talk about it towards the end, right? Okay. Membership. You're a really good straight man, by the way. Okay, we're going to charge membership. Here's why we're going to charge membership. Okay. We said there's 360 seaports and there are 580 some odd airports in the United States, 78 airports in the United States. Okay. All the airports who are members of this get a huge advantage. So let's say a small airport, let's say Lehigh Valley International Airport in Allentown, Pennsylvania, okay, or John Wayne Airport in California, okay, want to do a project and they want to test, an autonomous vehicle, or they want to go and test a robotic delivery system, or they want to go and test a baggage handling solution, okay? How many other airports do you think have the same problem? Most, many. If you are a member of Skyworld, the sponsoring party will pay for, the labor to run this, okay, the professional modality, the scoping, and the deliverable report, and all the members of Skyworld get the full result stream. Everybody will go and get the result stream. So which means you'll get the concept of what we're doing. You'll get the functional, the step-by-step progress of how it happened, and you'll get the reports with the video documentation. Okay, which means instead of 8 airports running the same POC, in essence, every member of Skyworld runs that POC because it's independently run, not by a vendor, not by an airport, based on an agreed upon parameter, and everybody gets the value. So the value proposition that we talk about, having the cost of innovation while doubling the speed, is predicated right there because everybody shares. The cost of the project is reduced because of the membership fees, and everybody gets the results. Now the results are not public; they're members only. You have a question?
So Pete, you have a community that proposes projects, or you have a
Any airport can bring it forward.
Okay, so they bring a project forward. They have an outsized obligation for the project compared to all the other members.
So they're gonna. So if it's your project, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay for our labor to go and run the project, right? Because you don't. The premise is you don't have an innovation staff.
Right.
You don't have project managers.
Right.
You don't have, or you may, but they may be overdone. You don't have software engineers. You don't have people running code, right?
So your overhead for doing the project should be lower.
Should be lower. That's exactly right. You got it, Chris. So what ends up happening is you don't have to hire people. You don't have to have a facility.
Right.
You don't have to contract a million, different subcontractors. Okay, we've already have an agreement with onshore and offshore development house. Okay, at a very favorable rate structure. Okay, and a university where we can bear interns and faculty members to go forward and work on the hard ideas. Okay, so it's prepackaged.
So I pay for those things that I'm supposed to pay for, and then I share the results across the team.
Because everybody has a membership, an annual membership fee or a monthly, whatever the membership fee is.
But on the flip side, you should get peer review of the members, which should strengthen your test results as well.
Yes,
Right.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Have you tried that model someplace?
The model's been tried other places in other industries. We have not tried that we have not physically executed that yet.
It's happened in other wireless alliances, I know for sure.
There are other people that do this, just like this.
But usually, what I've seen is that many people contribute to the project. And then the people that contribute to the project get the results of that. And especially if it's pre-competitive, but this is all application.
It can be hardware based. It doesn't have to be. I mean, it's use case based, it's customer experience based, it's application based.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's like that. And by the way, not for nothing.
Yeah.
So Michael, I'm going to throw you under the bus for a second. So, he used to be the CTO of a company called Ericsson. I don't know if you're familiar with them. So, and how many labs do you stand up for Ericsson?
Probably 8.
Yeah.
And of course, you have the lab here
So,
back in the day.
As an example, Ericsson probably spent the lion's share of research on Bluetooth,
Yes.
as an example, and most other companies benefited from that just by joining the alliance.
Yeah.
And actually, Ericsson benefited just on the patents and a few small things.
which is not insignificant, by the way.
Yeah,
But
but it was only at scale that they made
Yeah.
the money back.
so I mean, this is a model that's been done. The difference is, okay, when you have a lab run by a corporation, there's some mistrust and there's some pointing, right? So like we all remember the AT&T foundries, right? AT&T's done a good job. The foundries were a great concept. The problem is that most of the work directed in the foundry was work that really co-benefited AT&T.
And only AT&T for the most part.
Well, I don't want to go there, but anyway, with regard to that, we're agnostic. We don't have a dog in the hunt.
Okay, thank you.
Sean?
So if you're being paid to do these projects, I'm assuming you do not own any of the IP. The IP is what goes to the.
Yeah, that's right.
The people who are.
Yeah, the people who fund the project own the IP.
Right, so you have an independent mandate to create your own IP, or that's not a consideration?
Not a consideration.
So where the airport could benefit is the actual industry members that could be part of this, because that's what takes so much time for us to vet, find, locate, and get rid of that bias, because you can't fund government products
Right.
or projects when there's that much bias. You have
Right.
to show that you've validated and vetted, that you know the market.
Right.
So this is
This
kind
is
of
it.
done for us. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the easy button. Because when we looked at it, Michael and I looked at this a lot, right? When we looked at this, we said, oh my goodness, we could do so much good. And then, I personally went to a couple of airport shows, right? Matter of fact, I ran into your boss at one of them. And we've talked to 40, 50 airports. And you know how many airports said this is a good idea? 40, 50. All the vendors said, good idea. We have international companies who want to come in and participate in the lab because they have no U.S. presence. Like one of them is Group ADP. I don't know if you're familiar with Group ADP, but they're the company that was formed when the French government privatized the French airports. Okay, or TAV, which is the Turkish airport. TAV stands for Turkish airport. I don't know what the V stands for. Okay, they run 30 airports in Turkey in the Middle East, and they actually have airport management systems that they sell there that they'd love to bring into the lab. And they don't have U.S. North American presence. So we're actually going to be using, reaching out to the European solution providers too. And in the end, the airport industry, not everywhere, but in many places, it's well known that the European airports might be ahead of the U.S. airports in deployment of technology.
There's also an inter-vendor concept as well that usually is what plays off. 'Cause,
Yeah.
It's nice to have a third party validate interconnection between two different.
Well, and did you notice there were multiple RAN companies? By the way, do you know which RAN companies we're going to talk to? All of
Yeah, I was just saying, who are you not going to talk to?
them. There's nobody we're not going to talk to. And candidly, we've talked to the carriers and say, not for nothing, care. I mean, we had a conversation with AT&T. He said, not for nothing, you're in the private wireless business too. Sure, your solution counts.
But even on the physical security side, because I know a lot of the vendors that work at the airport. So, like for instance, the biggest vendor for cameras is Axis. They make most of the cameras for the airports. They don't have a way to third-party integrate their stuff.
Right. Yeah.
With other systems.
And by the way, not for nothing, we've had conversations with both Capgemini and Accenture, and they actually want to integrate into their lab systems as well. I mean, they want to play with us because we're not opposed to having, if Accenture brings an airport in, the airport says, I want Accenture to do the project. Okay. By the way, I'm ex-Accenture and Cap, so I have no bias between the two. So, I mean, we're there to facilitate. They don't necessarily need to be our staff running it. We are going to overview it, and we are going to make sure we're going to validate the authenticity, but we don't have to be the people actually doing it. If the airport wants to bring in their innovation, teams in to do it, sure. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Are your processes going to be ISO certified?
Yes. Oh yeah, we're gonna take into account every certification standard. But no, we're gonna be GMS, ISO. We're talking to the Wind Forum. We sure.
Are you familiar with that X group in Ontario? I think it is for the certification for autonomous vehicles.
No. We'd love to talk to them because autonomous.
One that I'm in Ontario.
Yeah.
And we've talked to the 5G Open Innovation Lab in Seattle as well. So, and they're happy to play with us too. I mean, all ships rise at high tide. Got to throw some of that port, jargon in there too. It's just not airports alone. Okay. So far, make sense?
So Pete, one last question. How are you getting around the POC in going from a lab environment to field? Because one of the things, every airport is different.
Yes.
So when you deploy something at an airport, you want to see how it works in your field, your environment. How are you getting around that?
So that's a great question. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the initial work in our lab, and then we will have to travel. Because you're exactly right. One of the things why I really wanted your lab to go is because when I talked to Paul about it a couple of times, it's like, Paul, this isn't competitive. What I want to do is I want you to be my airport partner so that we can, because there are just things you just got to do at the airport. And if you have an airport innovation lab, then we can trump down, to your airport and do some of the work, which would be good enough for many. But if that's not the case, then we're happy to go out to other airports. Like case in point, this week, Purdue, Lafayette, Indiana, just said they're standing up a lab. So we're happy to go down there if we have to do that work with them. But yes, you have to eventually go down to the airport. But it still cuts a lot of cost and time out. Okay, certification process. As I said before, we're very excited about the affiliation with OnGo. OnGo has no certified lab, like test facilities in the United States. They have certified labs for certified products, but not something that a customer can go out and do a certification. And that's what we're aiming to do. So that's going to be cool as well, you know. So we can certify a lot of applications for that. And airports are all at some level looking at private LTE and private 5G because of the geographic requirements that an airport specifically has. Ports have the same problem. Seaports, in fact, seaports have worse problems in some regards than airports. The location, another picture of the building, very nice building. So, and obviously use case examples, smart airports, smart ports. And then here are just some of the use cases that we have thought about running. And obviously, if you think about an airport, there are airport solutions and assets, tracking and workers, utilities and enterprises and vision and facilities. Okay, but an airport is also a smart city. An airport is also a smart building. An airport is also a smart warehouse. So, and obviously from a port perspective, many of the same applications and use cases. And I decided not to copiously go through and describe every single one of these solutions for the sake of time, but we'll give you the slides. So, why it matters. We're providing time to market for the members and the partners. We are providing industrialized commercial solutions that will be validated and certified, okay, and providing a neutral environment to enable multi-vendor innovation for real world results. And that's what I have. Yes.
So Pete, a company that wants to interface with you with a product that speaks to one of the use cases should have a TRL level 10, 11 product, right? You're not looking for 4, 5, and 6, or are you?
We'll look at anything.
At anything?
Yeah. Because here's the thing, right? So there's some of the best products in the world that haven't gone through the certification stack, right? Do we want to exclude them?
Depends on how long it's going to take them to.
That's right. So I mean, case in point, so my other company, we've instantiated a new operating system for smartphones based on security and privacy, which is no small undertaking. Okay. So people said to me, have you gone through common criteria yet? You know what common criteria is, right? Okay. So common criteria is government certification. Okay. For a federal use case, right? And the answer is no, I haven't. And they go, well, why haven't you? Well, it takes 6 months to a year and it costs $300,000. Okay. Having done it before, okay, it's spendy. Okay. Now, are we selling the product? You betcha. Are we selling the product to the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the Department of Defense, the State Department? You betcha. Is it common criteria certified? Why? Because it's wicked cool and does badass stuff. I was going to use another S word, but we're in public. Anyway, make sense?
So I'm surprised you don't have some competitors. What you're saying you're kind of the first in the marketplace to this. I would think there's been consulting with the airports forever.
So there are consultancies that have an innovation lab. Accenture has 4. They have 4 innovation labs. Capgemini has 2. And we're just talking, that's globally, right? Here's the problem. There are Accenture solutions that will be delivered by Accenture that require Accenture, provided, capabilities. They do good work. I got a pension from them, right? So I got nothing bad to say from them. However, they have a point of view. And all labs have a point of view. You know what? I'm not even going to say we're not going to have a point of view, right? It would be folly to say we're not going to have thought. Everybody has biases, right? We're going to try to limit biases. However, what we're going to do is we're going to try to redact most of those biases and try our skippy best to go forward and say, this is a blank slate. Everybody can play. Here's a call, here's a solution. We've identified these 20 solutions based on this, based on the criteria of the function, features and price. We think these are the ones we want to try. Have at it.
Do the airports have any professional, whatever groups that they combine
Yes.
together to?
We've talked to them, and they're saying we're interested. Tell us more. They have several. Because there's if you've not noticed, airports are big money. I mean,
Yeah.
case in point, I believe it's public information. The revenue run at DFW airports is about $1 billion a year. 1.2.
That's the reason it seems so strange that there haven't been,
They have an innovation department.
okay,
Okay, Maria works in the innovation department at DFW. They have an executive vice president who works for the CEO of innovation. They have a vice president. They have senior innovation directors. They have people who do this.
That's also
Okay.
a little bit unusual amongst most airports.
They're also the second largest airport in North America.
But I think one of the big gaps is that you want to deploy technologies, you want to see how things work in an airport environment, but it's the government policies, the procedures, the procurement of those things. And to not have an innovation department, it can take months and months and years just to get permits and actual authorization to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So if you could validate it with another group of airports to say we're all working on this together, that's where I see the benefit. Because it takes me months and months and months.
so you just, the biggest thing is just scalable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, remember the value proposition is half the time,
Yeah.
okay, half the cost. Fourfold innovation, throughput goal.
And you're saying that if you look at the airports around the world, there's enough commonality, not only real commonalities, but perceived.
They don't really compete like most industries, right? I mean, there are competitive pressures, right? So like if you look at DFW, okay, I mean, they have some competitors locally. Like Love Field competes with DFW for passenger traffic and private plane traffic. Okay, Alliance Fort Worth competes with the DFW very strongly on cargo. Okay, and they both do private planes, right? You have Millionaire Field in Addison does private planes. You got the Insurrectionist Field in Denton. Sorry, that's a joke. So that one too. I mean, it's private plane traffic, some cargo. But I mean, there's some competitive traffic, pressures, but moreover, they call each other, they talk to each other. I mean, they talk to other airports. I mean, you talk to other airports all the time.
Which one are you thinking, Denton? Is it Alliance or Denton?
No, Alliance is in Fort Worth. Denton is one, the one woman, the group that flew out. I was making a bad joke, obviously. That flew out for the insurrection out of Denton. Yes, he's wrong.
Do you envision any kind of situation where somebody comes to you wanting a problem solved, but they want part or all of their solution to not be shared with the other members?
Yes,
Or-
I'm sure that's going to happen.
So what would be your?
We're going to have a conversation.
Okay.
I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. I mean, case in point, right? We're going to invite the government. So, if FAA came in and said we want to do something, or moreover, if FBI said they're going to do something, or NSA wanted to do something, we'd abide by the laws of the government.
But yeah, but that's kind of a different thing.
Well, I understand it, but
Yeah,
if somebody
but-
said, I want to do something that's a strategic and clear, differentiation to differentiate me from other
Right.
people.
And so I
The-
want
so-
this under wraps for n number of years.
So the answer is we have to look at it. you know, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you no out of hand, and I'm not gonna tell you yes out of hand. It's not the intent, but it's gonna come.
So airports have been around a long time. Is there
I look-
anything that's come along to motivate this type of activity at this point in time? Why
Data.
it's been done?
Data.
Data.
The only thing that motivated this is data. Okay? Because data drives and delivers results and value and customer experience, customer intimacy and loyalty and security and process and efficiency.
We've had computers around with the data for a long time.
I learned Fortran in 1977 on punch cards. I get it. I get it. On you know, on an IBM 5150 remote cluster controller, and you know, terminal on your cloud share on the mainframe. Yes, sir.
So Pete, this may be a little early, but what is the membership structure?
I mean, for fees,
Yeah.
it's early. We're not all locked down yet. We're also going to private equity because we're not a non-for-profit.
You are non-for-profit?
We are not
I saw that.
non-for-profit.
Okay.
We're not making a big money. We're not looking to get.
Not means they are for profit.
We are for profit. No, yeah.
Well,
Adam, you indeed understand the English language well. Yes. Double negative. Yes.
Who's there? Who's there?
First base.
Is there any interest in private voice communication services?
Sure. Absolutely. Without question, Adam. We'd love to have your solution in the lab.
Excellent.
Okay? Yes.
So he would just need to find an airport? that's a
No.
member?
Oh, no, he'd be in there because, you know, some companies are going to have permanent fixtures, right? So like I had dinner last week with Alan Prometheus, who was the CEO of GXC. So GXC makes, you know, private LTE, you know, that actually works both on CBRS and on C-band. And they're doing very well. And they actually want to stand up permanent facility in the lab so that anybody comes in and tests something, they're going to need to have private LTE. Ericsson wants to do the same thing. We're happy to have them both. We're happy to have 6, 8, because in essence, in theory, we're going to fire them up. We're going to attach to their remote core because we're not going to host the cores. Because word has it, there's lots of there's lots of raised floor in Richardson and lots of fiber. So
lot.
like 7 million square feet of raised floor, right? So we're not going to host that, but we anticipate that the O-RAN that we stand up will communicate to their virtualized core somebody else's cloud. So we can stand up a 5G network pretty skippy fast.
So when do you think you're going to hire your third employee?
That's a good question. We have a space problem right now. We'd be up and running if it wasn't because we want the space we want.
Well,
So,
Steve promised me some space and I haven't gotten it, so you can have it.
well, I mean, you know, so you know, we're looking at a couple of things. But I mean, you know, the answer is we've already identified, you know, employee 3 and 4 and 5. It's, you know, employee 20 and 30, right?
Oh, right here at the front.
Who you want?
The front, yeah. It's a good name.
Are you a good guy?
I think so.
Were you good? Were you a good guy when we worked together at Samsung?
Kind of work together in the same building, but I never saw you at Samsung.
That's because you were in research and development. They never let me on the 3rd floor.
That's right.
By the way,
That didn't work.
that's not untrue.
No, it is true.
It is true.
That didn't work.
I was the GM of the United States, and I was not allowed into Samsung research and development on the 3rd floor.
Gotta be a background.
Without it, no, nobody, unless you were with Samsung research and development,
Yeah.
you weren't allowed. Dale had to have his escort, did he not? Dale Son was the president of Samsung Telecommunications America. He was not allowed on the 3rd floor without an escort
I had to be escorted from another company every time.
every time. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I invented freaking Knox and I had to be escorted. And the damn researchers who were doing it were working for Samsung Art. And I'd have to have meetings with them and I'd be standing at the door waiting for them to open the door to let me in. Yeah, so we were there, we're different divisions. I know him. Any other
Last
questions?
question, one more.
Yes, sir.
What levels and types of engineers are you planning
All
on having
types.
on your
Big and small,
hardware, software?
yes, firmware, embedded, application development, core development, coding, Flutter, Python,
From entry level to senior
PhD,
PhD?
the whole thing.
One more? All right, let's give Peter a hand. Okay.